Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and our next Escape from Tarkov video. We're going to update you on the Tarkov TV, what happened, what they talked about, and give you some details of that. I'm going to break this into two sections, if you will. I'm just going to blow through everything, give you bullet point on what they talked about so you can know if you're interested or not. And then we'll do a second section of the video with chapters and everything that goes into more detail of each piece so you can jump around and look at what you want. For that little bit, all I ask is make sure you hit the like button, assuming you like the video, and leave a comment if you can, because that helps me out regardless of how long you watch the video. But regardless, appreciate having you guys here, so let's just jump into the details real quick. Okay, so first things first, Arena is still planned for early December release. It's going to be a staged release, which means waves. Little groups of people will get it every couple of days or weeks or whatever they decide to do. Nikita said it'll be pretty quick, but that's what it's going to be. Unity 2021 is being scrapped. They're not going to do the upgrade. They had some issues or whatever, and they're going to go right to Unity 2023. So I don't know if that means they're skipping 2022 or if that exists or what that's all about, but it's going to be sometime next year. That's not going to be anytime soon. The rest of the stuff is coming with the December New Year's patch, which will be a wipe most certainly. And so keep that in mind with all of this. We're going to get a new matchmaking system that's going to be faster. There's going to be a new game launcher that includes Arena, obviously. There's going to be a new map. It's called Ground Zero. There's the BTR taxi and a second street boss called Colantite is going to be getting added to the streets location. Shoreline's going to get an update and some changes. We're going to get vaulting and or mantling, however you want to call it. There's going to be advanced armor hitboxes as well as the replaceable plates. EoD is no longer going to be purchasable. Now that's not necessarily with a wipe. There's a clock with that. You can go look. If you go to buy it, it's there. It shows the clock. There's also going to be a Recoil update, which is going to completely overhaul the way Recoil in the game works. Again, we're getting left hand shooting, peeking, however you want to look at it. It's kind of a semi-transition to the left shoulder with weapons. There's going to be an achievement and stat tracking system, more so than what we have now, as well as a Hall of Fame module added to the hideout. That wording's kind of iffy. That's Nikita said a couple of things, but Hall of Fame was the first one he said. There's going to be magazine loading presets, so you'll be able to preset a mag, and then it'll just throw that ammo in there for you, as well as Lightkeeper services. So Lightkeeper won't just be a quest giver anymore. He'll have services, as well as a bunch of new guns, potentially some new gear like we always get, maybe some new clothes, and then new voice lines for the bosses. I believe that is Sturman and Kaban, though he didn't say specifically, but those two bosses don't have their own voice lines right now, so hopefully we get them for them. And that's the big ticket items. That's the bullet point thing, the real quick list. I'm going to go into detail now, so check down below if you want to jump to a chapter on something specific. I'll get into some detail on these, explain them more in-depthly, and provide some perspective as far as everything else that we know about each of these items. Okay, so first things first, Arena. I got to play it, luckily, down at TwitchCon with the show match and then just playing it around there. So a little bit more detail on what's going on inside of that than others, which is good. I'm glad I can share that with you guys. We get a staged release in December, and that means it's probably going to go to streamers. Maybe some really active ETS testers, though it's not going to have anything to do with ETS. It's hard to say exactly how BSG is going to pick, but there's going to be a small pool. That's going to be the first people to get Arena. And then Nikita said they're quickly going to roll it out to more and more people. This is so they don't just blow the servers apart. They can get a pretty good group of people into it, get it tested, see how it feels, make sure it's running okay, and then slowly get more and more people in there so that they can have a good launch and not one that just falls apart like a lot of us are kind of used to on wipe days with normal Tarkov. Now, Nikita and the crew did play a couple matches during the Tarkov TV. The link will be down in the description. Go watch that if you want to. It's pretty good watch to see some of the stuff that's in there. One of the big things is they introduced the kill cam system again and VoIP. And those are the two things we didn't get down at TwitchCon. The kill cam, they're kind of weird. I don't want to say buggy, but there's a lot of stuff that happens on your character that's on your client side account, like Recoil, for example. Some of the audio, the muzzle flash, a lot of that stuff seems to be client side. And when you're watching, I noticed this on TwitchCon, if you had died and you were watching the camera, the little helmet cam of one of your teammates, you didn't see that stuff. You didn't see the recoil. Their gun moved kind of weird. It didn't look like the game. It kind of looked like a half representation, which kind of makes sense if this stuff's all server side. It's something we've all talked about with replay systems. And it looked like that was the same on the kill cam. It was really hard to see. We didn't get a lot of really good examples of it, but it did look like that's the same on the kill cam. So the kill cams aren't going to be 100% representative, but still a step towards having more of that information versus the less that we have in Tarkov now. In addition was VoIP. We didn't have VoIP in or any kind of in-game communication with Arena down in TwitchCon. And the thing that I noticed that was really cool is it has kind of like a radio tune overlay. I don't know what you call it for audio, but basically it changes the voice to sound like it's coming through a radio. It's pretty cool. I like it. I think it adds a little bit of immersion and fun to that whole communication system. Now with Arena, we're going to be getting a new launcher. So the BSG launcher we have, Nikita seemed kind of proud of this. They're going to have 2 games on there now. It's going to be Tarkov and then Arena. So that's going to be coming with it. I don't know if everybody's going to get that at the same time or exactly how that's going to work, but that's going to be, expect to see that. And hopefully the launcher will get some of this, the new launcher will have some stuff like it'll get rid of that Twitch or Twitter feed thing, since they can't pull tweets and show them anymore. It shows one from like 2022 or 2021 wipe or something like that. So hopefully they can get that all straightened out and the launcher is a little bit cleaner and maybe a better source for news for them than what it is now. Now, the Unity update is going to be a big sore spot. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to freak out over this, but it kind of is what it is. I've never dealt with Unity myself, but I've dealt with engines such as like AutoCAD and things that have these different versions that come out yearly, and it's not abnormal to completely skip years in some of these instances with these engines, because either they're not stable, the features aren't really something you care about, they don't help you out because they don't fully update every version every year. They do bits and pieces. And they've clearly had problems with 2021 because they've been fighting it for over a year now, I think. If I'm remembering correctly, it was about this time last year that they were talking about Unity 2021 and getting the ball rolling on it, and we still don't have it. And Nikita said because of the issues with that, they're just going to skip and go right to 2023. I don't know what impact that's going to have on things like netcode, because I know that was a big deal with Unity 2021 and how the game operates online, as well as some of the exploit fixes for cheating. There's a lot of stuff being addressed with the newer Unity engines with that. So where we're going to sit with that, I don't know. I'm going to try to do a little bit more research and figure out some more about 2023 so I can give you guys some more information. But right now, I don't know. I haven't had enough time to look into it. But that's not going to be till next year. We didn't get a date. He just said next year. So it could be January, technically, because that's next year, but probably not. Probably summer, maybe even the end of the year next year. Now, one thing to bring up is EoD is going to go away. We've known about this for a while, but we didn't ever really have a date. It was assumed it was going to be the 1.0. BSG has officially put a timer on it. You will no longer be able to buy EoD after, it looks like, December 30th. I did quick numbers. 45 days from now seems to be December 30th. I could be wrong of when I'm filming this and looking at this. So sometime in the afternoon, December 30th. Oh, I guess it could be the 31st. That's not the point. If you want EoD, you need to do it before this period of time. The big deal with this is that EoD is not going away. You just won't be able to buy it. So you'll no longer get EoD accounts. But that means you're going to be able to get the Prepare for Escape Edition, Left Behind Edition, or still Standard Edition. Those will still be available. It looks like there's no clocks on those. It's just EoD is going to be the one that's going away. This is probably tied in with Arena and stuff like that, because if you have EoD, you're getting Arena, as well as some of the other things with DLC. The things that you don't get with these other versions. So just keep that in mind. If you're interested in it or your friends are thinking about it, your last chance to get it or upgrade to it is going to be here at the end of December 2023. Now on to the stuff with the patch, the upcoming patch, the white patch 14 is what it's being called. So 14.0, which will be, they're saying New Year's patch. So probably my guess is sometime between Christmas and New Year's. That's kind of when they aim to do it. We'll get a better idea once it gets closer with where it's at. They might actually announce wipe this year instead of surprising us. We might actually get a date, but don't hold your breath. It just remains to be seen. So with that, we're going to be getting a new Matchmaker. It's not new looking or anything like that. You're not going to see anything, but it's going to work faster. Apparently, as well as by decreasing matching times. And apparently it's already implemented in some regions. He didn't say which one those were, but it's going to be worldwide after the New Year's patch. Everybody's going to be running on it. So they've been running it somewhere, testing it, I'm guessing, and then we'll see it everywhere else after that. The patch is also going to bring us a new map. We knew that. They talked about it. We just didn't know what it was, and we got it. We got that now, along with a little sneak peek of it. It's going to be Ground Zero, and this is the starter map. We were told Streets was going to be the starter location, and I just assumed that meant Streets is Streets the map, but it's not. It's kind of adjacent to Streets the map. It's in the city of Tarkov, if you will. It's where all the skyscrapers are, the really tall buildings that you see. It's called Ground Zero, and they haven't decided a level yet. It's going to be somewhere between level 1 and 15 or 1 and 20. They're probably going to throw it in there and then tinker it with it from there. My guess is it'll be tied to the flea market. So let's say they make it level 20, they might push the flea market to 20, or let's say 17 for some reason. That's my guess is it's going to be the same point. When you level, your PMC will no longer be able to go to that region, but you'll have the flea market. That's kind of what I'm expecting to see. Now, a caveat to that is your scav, your player scav. You will always be able to player scav into this area, which is kind of funny because you could sweat your player scav and go bully Timmy's, which I think is a bad thing because player scavs can be brutal as it is, even as an experienced player, and throwing them at new players, that's just, man, that's just mean. But that's Tarkov, I guess. It's kind of what we all grew up with. Now, they did say the loot's going to be reduced. There's not going to be great loot there, but I'm guessing there's going to be enough stuff to get you through your hideout, get you through your levels. I don't know how this is going to affect tasks, because there's tasks that you do before level 15 that you can't do on that map, obviously, like at the Jaeger letter. So I don't know, is it just you can go run woods if you want, you can go run other maps if you want. This one's just available to you if you want a safer place to play, like a little kiddie sandbox. Not sure. The map isn't going to be that big according to Nikita. It's nowhere near as big as Streets, but that's not saying much because Streets is massive. We didn't get a good idea. We got a map of it, but this doesn't really give us a scale. It doesn't give us a great idea. By looking at this, I would assume something maybe the size of the Interchange Mall itself, not the whole map, but the mall, something around those areas, but that's just a guess right now. I don't really know. Now, speaking of Streets, expanding on that, Streets itself, while it's not getting an expansion, Nikita said that those expansions are going to be put off to 1.0. They're going to stick with Streets where it is now and work on optimizing it so more players can use it. And then once they go to 1.0, they'll add the rest of the map in. But we're going to be getting the BTR taxi as well as the new boss, Kolonthite, which my guess is he's going to be somewhere on the north side of the map away from Lexos. That part of the map doesn't have much there. That's going to bring a lot of attention over there, kind of split the map up a little bit. And the BTR taxi, we don't have a whole lot of info on it yet. We do know it has a 30mm cannon that's going to be usable, but we're not going to get RPGs or anything like that yet to take it out with, or any kind of explosives. So there's a lot of questions there. We're going to have to wait till patch 14 to figure out, but it's going to be mayhem. You hear that thing running around, I would probably try to put a few buildings between you and it just to stay alive. Now, on top of that, we're going to be getting a Shoreline update. Exactly what that means, we don't know, but we have some ideas. Now, I'm going to go to the wiki here and pull up some of the maps and show you. This is the in-game map, just real quick, talk about it. As you can see down here, this kind of black line that's down here in the bottom left corner, down here where my mouse is. I don't know how well you guys can see that. That area is closed off. This area is all lighthouse and stuff. This area up top here to the left and across the bridge, this area I believe is where we're going to get added. So it's kind of like terminal or the docks or something like that. I think this is going to be it, and how much of it I don't know. And the reason I think this is because Nikita mentioned that Shoreline is going to get a faction of NPCs that are friendly to bears, similar to how rogues are with USEX at Lighthouse, or on Lighthouse at the water treatment plant. So that's what this strikes me as, is an area where bears can go in and not get blown apart like USEC can kind of go into the water treatment plant. And that is what I think. Now, using Reamer's beautiful maps that he does, I mean, and the reason I think this is because they've got a lot of this stuff rendered in here already. These aren't just far distant invisible walls like some of the mountains and stuff that you see to make the map look better. These are actual buildings. They're actually there. So I think the intent is to add them. They just hadn't polished them. They hadn't done whatever they needed to yet. There's also a possibility that we get some of this area up top added as well, and maybe some more interesting landmarks or things out on this side of the map. Everybody knows that plays Shoreline, that everything that happens on the map either happens in the village, the swamp, resort, maybe power in the docks, but this whole side of the map is pretty much dead other than the radar tower. You spawn over here, I call it the PvP side of the map because you have to fight your way through a lot of it, and you end up with PvP, but there's not really much loot over there, a couple of caches and things like that. So hopefully they make this area more interesting, not just by having, bear-friendly NPCs that'll blast you apart, but just stuff to make people want to traverse more of this big map and not just have it a giant running simulator. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm anxious for it. Shoreline has needed some love for a while, so I'm happily awaiting to see what they're going to bring us with it. Now, the next one's a big one. This one probably has has potential to be one of the biggest changes. The only one bigger than this, I think, is the armor hit registration, but the vaulting and mantling, it looks good. There's a little jankiness to it with some of the animations, but I think that's stuff that they can work on over time and get better. The bigger part is going to be not just the looks, but the function. How does it work? Is it a key bind? Is it automatic? How do we bind it up to set it to where we can both jump and mantle, which they said we're going to be able to do. So it's still there, but this is going to make places like tight areas that are just a pain to get over, little lips and ledges that you try to get up. All of that stuff is going to make getting around the maps much less painful. So excited for it. I think it's going to be buggy. We'll work through it. I think it's going to be a great addition to the game. Just hopefully it doesn't break too much shit and we don't end up with yeeting ourselves off the maps or getting into really crazy spots and shooting people through walls. It's all going to be happening probably, but I guess expect the worst, hope for the best, right? After that is the other one that I just talked about, is the armor and hit, the advanced armor hitboxes, hit registration changes, armor plates, plate carriers, helmets, all of that stuff is going to be completely overhauled with more exact systems. So instead of right now, if you get shot anywhere in the chest, it's just one big hitbox, the armor applies. The way the new system is going to work is basically going to be a visual system. If you can hit somewhere that doesn't visually have armor, the armor is not going to act against it. So this means that you're going to have really advanced hitboxes on the armor. Now, how does this apply to the player? We didn't see anything on that yet. It still looks to me like you have the same one chest hitbox, but potentially have 5-6 hitboxes covering that chest. You've got side plates, neck plates, all sorts of stuff in there. Not plates, but neck armor. So we're gonna have to see how this plays out. It's gonna completely change the armor meta, because there's armors that are great, like let's say the Hex Grid, for example, or the HPC. They're really small armors though. They don't cover really well. So they are not going to be all that great for many purposes, because pistol rounds or shotgun rounds are going to actually be able to get through these or hit you on the edges. So we're gonna have to, there's gonna be a lot that comes with this that we don't know yet, as far as how they're adjusting damages, maybe how they're adjusting how bullets impact different pieces. All of that stuff is still up in the air. So that is going to be coming. It looks super cool. It is going to be very complex though, and it's going to take a lot of time to figure out exactly how it works, what bugs come with it, and how it's going to impact things like inventory space and repairing and all that junk. So expect that. It's going to be a crazy wipe, just because of that alone, not to mention all this other stuff. Nikita did mention that there's going to be new hit areas of the head and body, but he didn't expand on that. He used the quote word, more real damage propagation. So that is some system with this whole armor that it looks like they're looking at, to make sure that like you don't just get one shot with a shotgun if you're wearing really good armor, but we'll have to see. Now the next clip is kind of a combination of a bunch of stuff. It's a part of it's the recoil rework, and Nikita emphasized that this is still in progress and that they were just showing what they had. I don't want to get too much into it because there's so many things we don't know about. We don't know the ammo they were shooting, what kind of attachments changes they've made, you know, what skills are involved, how the auto compensation works, if it's still even there. There's so much of that we don't know, and is going to need a ton of testing to really get a good idea of how it feels. A lot of people in the community are excited. They like it because it looks like there's not much recoil. I'll be up in the air. We'll wait to see how it is. I don't like the current recoil system in Tarkov, but I don't think the answer is a no recoil system, because then you just end up where we did in the summer of 2020, where everybody just ran ASVALs or SA58s, meta M4s, whatever you could put the best ammo behind it. You just never ran anything smaller, because you didn't. Why shoot a MP5 when the SA58 has the same recoil, right? So that's what I'm worried about. I could be completely wrong. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm hopeful we'll get this on ETS before it goes to the server, so that we can give some feedback to it, good feedback. But I'm not holding my breath on that. BSG has never really done that before, so I don't expect it to do it here, but we can hope. Now, in addition, they also showed left shoulder transitioning. Now, this isn't a full switch, because normally when you switch, if you're shooting right-handed and you go to switch to left, you swap your hands, control stuff like that. Somehow they're just they're sliding the rifle over to your left shoulder, it looks like. So the impact that's going to have on what your character looks like when you're peeking around corners on a right-hand peek versus a left-hand peek, I have to wait to see what it looks like, unless they show us multiple perspectives in the future. I think it's a bonus, because you're not going to have to completely left-hand peek with the right-hand shouldered rifle, but are we going to get some kind of recoil debuffs, or what's going to happen if you're left-shouldered versus right-shouldered, all that kind of stuff. I expect there to be something, just because of BSG's penchant towards realism and punishing choices one way or another. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be a good addition to the game. I'm excited for it. They also, with this, they showed some of the new stuff for blind firing, which is good. Being able to move while blind firing was removed on purpose. It's not a bug. They took it out by design, and it doesn't look like it's coming back. So if you want to blind fire, you're gonna have to be stationary. I don't ever do it because I feel like you got to hit 7 keys at the same time unless you rebind stuff. So we'll have to see if it becomes more viable system to use and makes it worthwhile for me anyways to rebind keys to be able to use it. Some fun stuff that they're adding is an achievement system, as well as your stats and your achievements being viewable by friends. I think this is pretty cool. There's going to be, they showed a list that was basically kill bosses and stuff, but I bet there's going to be tons and tons and tons of achievements in here, especially with the way the API works and the stats they can track, which we saw with the streamer challenge and we've seen with some of these other events. That they're going to be able to do that stuff pretty easily. And as far as rewards or badges or what we get from that, I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. If you're going to get like a patch you can wear, or if it just goes into the thing Nikita mentioned is you're going to get a Hall of Fame or a Place of Fame. It's a module in your hideout where you can show stuff. You can put different items, potentially showcase it for your friends, all that kind of stuff. I think that's where that's going to be showed. Now, they did say that you're going to be able to view your friends, and they did show it. You can view your friends' stats, their achievements, and some of their limited stats. What I want to know is if we're going to be able to view everybody's. I hope we can, but it seems right now it was very specific to friends, and that's how they got to the system was through friends. So you might only be able to do it with friends, but you're going to be able to see each other's stats. And on top of that, as a bonus to this whole system, you're going to be able to copy your friends' presets, their builds for their weapons. So if you see one of your friends has a preset you want to try, there's no like screwing around, sending pictures or whatever over Discord. You'll be able to just copy it in game and build that weapon. They also showcased a couple of new guns, the 9A91 as well as the VSK94. These are kind of the same gun, one's without a suppressor, one's with. These are, I joked around, I called them an illegitimate child between a Keter and a VSS. Because that's kind of what they look like, real small submachine gun, but they shoot 9x39. So a very potential high-powered weapon. I mean, you think you put SP6 or even BP in one of these weapons up close, it's going to shred people as like a backup or secondary weapon, or God forbid a rat gun, somebody hiding in a trash bag. I don't know who, I wonder who would do that. In addition, we got the RPD, which is exciting. I'm happy to see the RPD. I think it's going to be a cool addition. It's a baby belt-fed weapon compared to the PKP or the PKM, because they'll shoot the 7.62x54R round, which is just massive. The RPD is going to shoot 9x39. So hopefully it'll be something available for everybody to use belt-fed wise. It'll have some limitations to it, obviously, but it starts bringing into these squad tactics where you can use machine guns for covering fire and things like that. So I'm excited to see where it is, I'm excited to see it coming, because I think it's going to give more people a chance to run those belt-fed guns rather than just get them off of Kaban where it is now. They didn't have any footage for it, but we're also going to be getting the SIG Spear in 6.8, which is pretty crazy. For those that don't know, this is a new weapon coming to the U.S. Armed Forces. It's got some pretty crazy ballistic characteristics. It's designed to defeat modern body armor. Think of it as kind of almost like a 7.6 in the game for purposes. I tell people are going to jump down my throat for saying this, but it's okay. Think of it as like a 7.62x51 rifle. It's going to be very similar to that. Probably a little bit less damage, but just as much armor penetration, depending on how they go with the ammo. It's going to operate like an M4. It's going to have smaller mags. It's going to be 20-round mags, I believe, just like a SR25 or a MDR, but it's going to be full auto capable. We'll just have to see what extent they go to with it. But interesting weapon to be adding. Very potential to be a meta weapon. Just has to remain to be seen. Now, one thing that they did say is the Bypods are not going to be coming with patch 14, which is unfortunate. It makes the belt-fed weapons pretty much meme weapons. They're almost impossible to use in any meaningful way, because there's no suppression effect really when you're shooting at somebody. So when you're just blasting and spraying all over the place, people are going to be able to turn on you, find you, return fire, and probably kill you most of the time unless you're basically stuffing it in their chest. So until we get Bipods, belt-fed weapons are going to be kind of a meme, but Bipods not coming with patch 14. Disappointment for me, but we'll see hopefully soon. Looking forward to those, not just for the belt feds, but for things like sniper rifles and things like that. When you're trying to take really long shots, you can get rid of a little bit more of that sway. Nikita also mentioned new voice lines for bosses. He didn't say specifically which one, but I'm guessing Kaban and Sturman. I don't think any of the other bosses don't have voice lines. I think it's just those two, If I'm wrong, let me know it in the comments, I guess. But Kaban and Sherman don't have, they just sound like scavs, so it'll be good for them to have their own voice lines, just to ID them and know when you're about to get screwed, as well as just makes it more fun to hear boss voice lines. At least I think so. Now, does that mean the new boss Tight's gonna have a voice line? I hope so, but I don't know. And then lastly, I'll talk about it. The anti-cheat system, you're either gonna be on the line of cool, this is awesome, or BSG's lying, or it's meaningless, or they try to make money off cheats, whatever it might be. Just gonna pass the information along. Nikita said that between October and November, they banned 10,000 people between using cheats or RMT. So that means if you bought RMT, you potentially got banned. Usually that's what you see, the 60 or 90-day bans. They're not permanent, whereas somebody who's using cheat programs or rage hacking, rage cheating, they are permanent bans for the account. It just kind of depends, I think, on BSG's discretion on how egregious it is. On top of that, they are also working on exploits within the game and the engine itself that are used by the cheaters to do things like speed cheats and stuff like that. Now, this part here is super tinfoil hat. I don't have any advanced information on it. It's just some of the pieces I put together. So take all of this with a grain of salt. This is just my thoughts on it, where I'm seeing things right now. With the 2021, them deciding not to go to 2021, I feel like there's a lot of changes that they have made over the last 6 months that they may have rolled back. For example, I have been noticing people rubber banding around more, not myself, but when I'm looking at somebody else, I am noticing them rubber banding around. That hadn't happened in a long time, and that was a result of some of the server changes they had made, netcode changes that pushed everything more server side versus client side, which meant that you would rubber band on your screen versus everybody else's. I'm not trying to say which one is better. It just tells me that they did change something with patch 13.5 and this wipe, maybe it was later, it's hard to say exactly, that is a result of this 2021 Unity change. On top of that, there's a lot of the cheats that seem to have been, not necessarily that they were fixed or impossible to do, but they were more detectable, they were less exploitable, and they didn't happen as often because they resulted in bans quicker. A lot of those changes that we saw with patch 13 and working through 13 seem to be rolled back with 13.5. Things like speed cheats became way more prevalent. Vacuum looting, teleporting, all of that stuff that was still possible, but not nearly as prevalent as it is this wipe. I do wonder if this has something to do with it. So a Unity update, if that is part of it, it's going to be a big deal. The Unity update needs to come because it's going to be one of the key things. Battlestate Games isn't perfect with dealing with cheaters. I'm not trying to claim that. There is stuff that they do wrong. There's stuff that's just inherently wrong with the way they built the game that is incredibly difficult for them to fix now. But on top of that, they have to deal with Unity. And Unity itself has lots of problems, lots of exploits that cheaters take advantage of that are almost outside of BSG's ability to fight or control, because it's basically at the engine level of the game. And then there's some stuff that's both, it crosses both spectrums of that. So while BSG works on their end, if we can get a Unity upgrade that helps on their end, hopefully it will impact cheaters in the most negative ways possible, and they all stub their toes and step on Legos, but time will tell. But that is pretty much everything. We got it wrapped up. It's a long video, I know. I appreciate you guys hanging out if you did. Hopefully you got value out of it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Remember to hit that like button. Quick shout out to my music. Always do that. It's my music. It's produced for me by Low Wave Records. We partner in it. We put it out there for free for everybody to listen to. It supports us just by you guys listening to it. And if you're a content creator, it is free for you to use. You can use it in your YouTube videos. You can stream it, and you don't have to worry about copyright strikes or DMCA takedowns. We don't do that. We made it for the community, for people to use and be free. So links down in the description. Go check it out. Let me know what songs you like. Give me a follow over there on Spotify. That's what helps us out. Though we are available on most every sound place, whether you're Apple Music or wherever you're at. It's everywhere. It's just Spotify is the one that helps us out the most. So listen to it where you want to. But I'm done there. Appreciate you guys. Wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.